Hello everyone, welcome. I hope you're all doing well. In this lesson we are going to cover the very important partitive article in French. So the partitive article, what exactly is that? And the answer to that question you will find in this lesson. The partitive article, simply put, is the way that the word some or any is expressed in French. So we're going to first learn a verb that is commonly used with the partitive article, the verb boire. And then after we learn the verb, we're going to look at some examples of the partitive article, how it's formed, and we'll practice with it a little bit. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is learn the verb boire. Boire means to drink in French. Boire. The verb boire in French is an irregular verb, which means you basically have to memorize the forms. Remember that there are some RE verbs that do follow a regular pattern of conjugation, and these are the endings that we use with these regular verbs. Most of the endings that you see here will be used in the verb boire, but the reason why irregular verbs are called irregular is because of the root or the stem. So the root or the stem is found by removing the RE from the verb. So we have this root or stem. And boire is irregular because the stem will be different in some of the forms. So for some forms you're going to see this, and for some forms you're going to see this. Bottom line, you have to memorize the forms. So let's take a look at the forms of boire. If I want to say I drink, je bois, je bois, je bois. Tu bois, you drink, tu bois. Il, elle, or on boit. Notice there's a T ending for this one. For the new form, it's buvons, buvons. Vous buvez, buvez. Ils, elles boivent. Je bois, tu bois. Il boit, elle boit. On boit. Nous buvons, vous buvez. Ils boivent, elles boivent. Okay, now that you know how to conjugate the verb boire, we can move on to the very exciting partitive article. Okay, so again, what is the partitive article? Let's just talk about that a little bit and we'll look at some concrete examples. So it's a type of article that's used in French to talk about an unspecified quantity of something, often something that is generally uncountable. For example, water. You cannot count water. Think of the substance of water. You can put it in a bottle and count bottles, but the water itself you just can't count. So in English we say things like some water. I would like some water. What does some mean? Well, it's just some quantity. We don't know specifically how much. You just want some. How much is some? I don't know. When I start drinking, I'll tell you when it's enough. But some water. Some water. So we can't count water. We can't say one water, two waters. People say two waters, meaning two bottles of water, but still the substance itself you can't count. Okay, so in French there's a specific way of saying some water. We'll see that in just a second. Okay, partitives are used to refer to a part or portion of something. Part, hence the name partitive. Partitive, part, a part of something. So rather than the whole. Another example, some juice. I see you have a lot of juice there. I would like some. I would like a part of that or a portion of that. Some juice. It's commonly used with uncountable nouns like liquids or maybe abstract concepts like time or patience. It's often used with the verbs avoir and falloir. When you translate the partitive article from French to English, we of course use the word some, but here's the tricky thing about this. In English, the word some is not necessary and it's oftentimes omitted. For example, I could say, I have some time, or I can simply say, I have time. The idea of some is simply understood. Just to note that there are more aspects of the partitive article that are not covered in this lesson. This is simply meant to be an introduction to the idea of the partitive and the partitive article. Okay, so enough talk about the partitive. Let's look at some examples. Okay, so how do you say some in French? Let's say you ask me, how do you say some in French? And I would say, well, the idea of some is commonly conveyed by using the word de, the preposition de, and we combine that with the article. Okay, so de combined with the L apostrophe, so you have to choose, depending on which noun you're using, you have to think about which article that noun takes. So if it's a word that takes the L apostrophe, then the de will combine with the L apostrophe and give you de and then the L apostrophe. Okay, we're going to look at an example in just a second. De and la, if your noun takes la, then you have de la, de la. And then if your noun takes le, if it's a masculine singular noun, le, the le and the de actually combine, they contract to du, du. So you may have seen du or heard du, and you've been wondering, well, how do we get that word? What does it mean? Well, it's actually, in this case, it's the partitive article, du. Okay, so let's look at some examples. If I want to say some water, water in French, first of all, we start with the de, and then water is l'eau. So you put it all together and we have de l'eau, de l'eau. So that means some water, de l'eau. And we're going to put that in a sentence in just a second. Okay, some lemonade. So lemonade is la limonade. So it's de plus la limonade, de la limonade, de la limonade. And then finally coffee. Coffee is le café, so we start with de, and de plus the le becomes du. So du café, du café, du café. So some coffee, so some water, de l'eau, some lemonade, de la limonade, some coffee, du café. So now we can put this together with the verb boire and make some complete sentences. If I want to say in French, I drink some water, or I drink water, remember we can omit the some in English. So in French, the partitive is always necessary. You can't omit it. So you have to say, je bois de l'eau. Je bois de l'eau. I drink some water, or I drink water. So now how do you say in French, I drink some lemonade, or I drink lemonade? Well, here it is. Je bois de la limonade. Je bois de la limonade. I drink some coffee, or I drink coffee. Je bois du café. Je bois du café. Je bois du café. You drink, tu bois. You drink some water, or you drink water. Tu bois de l'eau. Tu bois de l'eau. You drink some lemonade, or you drink lemonade. Tu bois de la limonade. Tu bois de la limonade. You drink some coffee, or you drink coffee. Tu bois du café. Tu bois du café. Tu bois du café. He drinks, il boit. He drinks water, or he drinks some water. Il boit de l'eau. He drinks some lemonade. He drinks lemonade. Il boit de la limonade. Il boit de la limonade. He drinks some coffee, or he drinks coffee. Il boit du café. Il boit du café. We drink. Nous buvons. Nous buvons. We drink some water, or we drink water. Nous buvons de l'eau. Nous buvons de l'eau. We drink some lemonade. Nous buvons de la limonade. Nous buvons de la limonade. We drink some coffee or we drink coffee. Nous buvons du café. Nous buvons du café. You drink. Vous buvez. Vous buvez. You drink some water. Vous buvez de l'eau. You drink some lemonade. Vous buvez de la limonade. You drink some coffee. Vous buvez du café. They drink. Ils boivent. Ils boivent. They drink some water, or they drink water. Ils boivent de l'eau. Ils boivent de l'eau. They drink some lemonade. Ils boivent de la limonade. Ils boivent de la limonade. And they drink some coffee. Ils boivent du café. Ils boivent du café. Remember, as I mentioned before, you can also see the partitive with some other verbs. For example, like with the verb avoir, I could say, I have some water, or I have water. J'ai de l'eau. J'ai de l'eau. I have some lemonade, or I have lemonade. J'ai de la limonade. J'ai de la limonade. I have some coffee, or I have coffee. J'ai du café. J'ai du café. You have some water, or you have water. Vous avez de l'eau. Vous avez de l'eau. You have some lemonade. Vous avez de la limonade. Vous avez de la limonade. You have some coffee. Vous avez du café. Vous avez du café. How about asking a question? In this case, we're just going to use inversion. Remember, there are other ways to ask questions besides inversion. I just randomly chose inversion for this example. So if I want to ask someone, do you have some water? Avez-vous de l'eau? Avez-vous de l'eau? Do you have some lemonade? Avez-vous de la limonade? Avez-vous de la limonade? Do you have some coffee, or do you have coffee? Avez-vous du café? Avez-vous du café? Avez-vous du café? Okay, well, that's it for this lesson. Remember, it was just meant to be an introduction to the partitive. I hope it helped you. If you found it helpful, then I would appreciate it very much if you'd give it a like. And to continue learning French and go on to another lesson, click on the video that appears here on your screen. I hope to see you soon. À bientôt.